Okay, cool. Yeah, so
Oh,
let's
what are you here to talk about exactly? Or
yeah, so we have, maybe I can give you a little background on what this merge request, or like
Mhm.
the what this merge request is about and what the goals are, or what my goals were. So yeah, we have like a custom Rails form builder that already exists, and it has um, just just two custom fields right now: the checkbox and the radio.
Yep.
Um, and those, it basically just makes adding like the correct CSS classes and stuff much easier, so that it looks like our design system
Mhm.
in Rails forms. And then we recently were doing like a bunch of migrations to that form builder, and I was
Mhm.
noticing that a lot of the time we wanted to have like HTML markup in the label or the help text,
Yep.
so we could have like a little help icon or a link in the help text, stuff like that. And we were
Mhm.
doing like just kind of like some ugly like string concatenation to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then also recently we added the ViewComponent library, and that
Mhm.
has support for slots, which is just like a little bit cleaner way to add like HTML markup to different areas.
Mhm.
So yeah, the goal of this was to utilize ViewComponent in the form builder so that we could use the slots to make it just like a little bit cleaner and easier for people to add that type of yeah, content to the help
Yep.
text or the label.
Yep. I see.
And then I guess the side goal is like if we had one central place in the code base that is like handles rendering these UI components in Haml, that could be like a bonus just to have it in one central location.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
ViewComponent is a cool project. Um,
yeah, it is cool.
mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I guess your concern was kind of like how we're utilizing the form builder in ViewComponent, which is they don't have, yeah, there's no like clear, it's kind of still up for debate like what the best way to do it is. As far
Yes.
as my research found, there wasn't like one like way, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it is that they try and state it in the known issues page that hey, we don't necessarily work where we're formed for, and then the community members have a few suggestions on how to do it. And as you say, there's someone else that created a view component extension, I suppose, or view component forms. I don't know what you call that. But
Yeah, there's
yeah,
another
yeah.
package that I was kind of like using a little bit as a guide for how to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I see. So, so the two, to summarize, kind of like the two concerns that I have. Number one is that we shouldn't be kind of lifting add template, which is an internal kind of concern of the form builder class, and passing that to the view component. It makes the view component not an independent class at all, which is what we, well, at least what I think we hope we want to have. And then the second thing is that it is probably really hard to unify, to have a single component that will do checkbox tag and checkbox. Unfortunately, the Rails community have tried it for many years, or gave up 10 years ago maybe. They still have form dot checkbox and checkbox tag. It's just
yeah,
yeah, that's probably because they didn't have real component at that point.
that's fair. Yeah,
So
we could
yeah,
do two separate components that just use like a shared class for any shared functionality.
yeah, I think we can kind of pass the, sorry, not pass in. I think we can add in like mixins to, put in the formatting of the CSS classes and things like that. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think we can
That was
share
the
that.
only reason. There's the formatting of the CSS classes was the main reason I was thinking like have one component to handle both, but you
Yeah.
could do that some other way. anyways.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. Just to be transparent, I'm pretty against base classes, so
Okay.
that's just me. Yeah.
So yeah, just let me, or another prefix for me is I'm a front end engineer. Like I've been diving into Rails a bit here and there, but I'm like far from an expert. So yeah.
Oh, you're doing great.
So,
So how do we want to do this? Do you want to drive or?
Sure, yeah, I can drive and then we can just mess around with it and see what what we can come up with and see if we can find an elegant solution.
Mhm.
If that works for you.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So yeah, like here's the checkbox component, and then yeah, so I was just using a base class because of for some of this like shared functionality between the radio and the checkbox. I don't know.
Mhm.
Uh, but maybe we should start with trying to come up with a better way or a better way than passing the template, which we do here.
Yeah.
I know you had a couple of ideas.
Yeah. So what was it? It's in the merge request.
Yeah.
Do you want to open a merge request?
So
So up there, the very top is how Rails implements a checkbox, which is, it uses add template.checkbox.
oh right, yeah.
And then going down is kind of one idea of doing it, but that's like using a meta-programming way of getting the add template variable, instance variable, which is not that great. It totally breaks object orientism. So no. And then we go to implementation idea 2, which is kind of what we have now, I think, where we're passing in a template.
Yeah,
from the
that's
form builder.
pretty much what we're doing right now. Oh yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Then what the new?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then another idea that I had was passing in self instead. So the idea then is that then we'll be using just x. Instead of using an internal instance variable, we can just use that object and then just use public methods of that object to render whatever we want, like a checkbox.
Okay,
What do
yeah.
you think about that?
Yeah, we can give it a try. So like, I guess I'll just keep the named variables or the named arguments for now. But like, what do you mean? Like, so if we did like form builder and self, and then so this would be an instance of, yeah.
It's actually a form. It's very confusing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, people just call it a form, but it's actually an instance of action view base. There is no specialty.
So self would refer to.
Yeah, an instance of form builder. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I guess form builder is fine. That's maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
too
Yeah, they
bad.
call it form builder right here.
Yeah, so might as well. Yep.
So then, yeah, I guess instead of like, so this, so we would still set this as like form builder, form builder. And then all these templates, I think, would just change to form builder. And then also like in the
I think the object name is not needed. if I'm not wrong.
Oh yeah, it might already be.
It's in the form builder already.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this technique is like if you look in the action view form helper class, like in the Rails source code, it has like instructions on how to use like a custom form builder, and it says to use like @template
Mhm.
and pass in the object name, which it's interesting that it would suggest doing that instead of just doing like, because we're extending this class already. So
Yeah, yeah, you can
surprised
do that.
it's
That's one way of doing it. You have to, as long as you render it in the template, I guess. So if you look in guides.rubyonrails.org,
yeah.
it's probably a
Oh, yeah.
fuller explanation. Where we subclass, yeah, that one. So if you see there, they just use label on the object instead, which is absolutely doable as well.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they even just super it. So
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess so this is probably the better docs to go off of.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess they're both Rails docs. Anyways, okay, let's try this. Sorry, I was getting sidetracked there.
No, that's a legitimate question. That's a good question.
So, oh yeah, so then that's what we were trying to figure out, if we need to pass that object. Yeah, okay. So if we just use this, then it doesn't look like we need to pass the object.
So if you go to api.rubyonrails.org, you can find out for sure. api.rubyonrails.org.
That's the form builder. So
the checkbox
okay,
method. Yeah.
So you don't have to pass the, okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is clean there. I was just getting, okay. So yeah, we wouldn't have to pass this, which is nice. Still have to do this stupid camel syntax. And then okay. I think theoretically that would work. Let's see, like, get any errors?
Yeah, I think you need to fix render label as well. Not sure if you fixed it.
Oh yeah, so that's something's not rendering correctly. Oh yeah, so these the ID attribute is not getting added correctly for some reason. So let's see, checkbox. Oh, I think the order of that's what it is. The order of the
Oh yes, options come
something.
first. Options comes first, and then no, that's correct.
That's right.
That's correct. But your render label is needs to be fixed in the base component.
Form builder. Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's it. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, so that works as well.
The HTML look what you expect it to.
Yeah, yeah. And then we can just run the specs as well just to make sure. But yeah, that's
Yeah, it's got
all
one
matching
input
up correctly.
hidden, and then the input for the actual checkbox. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's very interesting. That's not what I expected it to do.
What did you expect it to do?
I expected it to break.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that worked.
that's interesting. So because the issue is that I think how view component captures the buffer. So it has its own buffer to capture
Yeah.
the HTML tags and whatnot. It creates its own buffer. So
Mhm.
I thought it would ignore the buffer that the form builder has. So if you go to there's a I
The
linked to
noted.
an issue
Yeah.
in the merge request. So yeah, that one. Then if you click into isn't compatible, so this person was complaining that their HTML got duplicated when they passed in the form. See how in the output they have 2 inputs, which is really weird.
Yeah. I was running into an issue if I was rendering the label, if I was calling this directly from the HAML file,
Yes.
then it was rendering the label twice. But if you
Oh,
call it
see.
directly, if you call it from a private method, it wasn't. So there is some
because of
funky
the
stuff.
slots. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, ideally we put it in a hammer because it's really weird to have methods that render in the component builder. I don't know what you call this thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could put it, well, actually, I mean, assuming we figured out the duplication rendering issue, we could put in the HAML, but it's this is shared between the checkbox and the radio right now. So we would create, I mean, that's one reason it's as a private method is because we share it between the two. But I mean, it's not that complicated. We could duplicate it, I suppose.
That's fine. I don't know exactly whether this might be okay to have rendering methods in the component. I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, you can. So in ViewComponent, let's see. No.
Can you help us?
So you can, there's 2 different ways to render a component. You can have a method that's called call, or you can have a HAML file that's named exactly the same as the component. Originally, I just had, because I was having some issues with the HAML and like the duplicated rendering, I was just using that call method. But then I realized that we could have a HAML file for some of the, it's kind of a weird mixture though.
Yeah.
Let's see, templates maybe. It's documented somewhere in here.
Rendering from a controller. Inline. There we go. By defining a call method. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you can, instead of having like a HAML partial, you can just have a call method that basically does it would do like form builder.label or like
Yeah.
label tag or something like that.
I
So
see. I see.
you can decide if you want to do YAML or that.
Mm.
And I guess
Okay, that
right
makes
now
sense
we
to me.
have kind of like that in between. Yeah.
Mhm. That's fine. That's fine. I think that's something we can kind of make better. But do we have tests that actually kind of test this? That the labels aren't duplicated, for example.
Yeah. So we have two. There are so you check box spec. So yeah, there's these component specs which are mostly just using like the RSpec selectors. It's a good question. I'm not sure if this would fail if there was a duplicate label. That's something we should look into. And then there's also the form builder spec that is more just like we define what the HTML should look like, and then we just assert that it renders the correct HTML. So this would fail if there was duplicate labels.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. That's good. Yeah,
but,
that's actually the more complete one.
yeah, so
fail because you're passing a template.
yeah, so I guess this kind of just like tests that we call the component correctly, the view component correctly with the correct arguments and stuff. But yeah, this, I mean, I think this should pass. Maybe not. It's gonna fail because this is different now. So yeah, that would be one thing I'd have to figure out in the tests, in the specs. So I have this like fake template, which is in the form builder helpers. And I borrowed this from that other library we were talking, or other gem we were talking about. There's like view component form. And it basically just like creates a template that it basically like creates that template instance variable. So I think we would have to change this to create an instance of.
It's actually the same instance by coincidence.
Yeah.
Oh no, form builder. So instead of action view base. Oh yeah, you need to create a form builder.
We'd have to create an instance of this, I think.
Yeah. Would it make sense then to not create an instance, but render it within the context of a form for?
Oh, yeah. So like in the spec. Oh no, in the.
Yeah, unfortunately that form builder spec doesn't do that as well. But in the component spec that we have.
Yeah, so we could set up like a.
We need access to helpers.
So we could do like form for.
Yeah. Do F.
We need like some sort of object though. Like I think we'd have to maybe create a user with the from a factory maybe. I'm not sure.
We don't need user. There's no object name.
Oh
no, there is object name. No, we don't need object name. We just need a method now. Yeah. We don't need object name anymore.
I don't know if I'm doing this right, but.
And passing the form builder. That will work. I don't know whether we have access to the form for method here, but we can fix that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the other thing was we don't need, we can get rid of this actually.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we can see if that works. Maybe I'll run just that. So. When you use form 4 in like a Hamel partial though, you so like oh. I'll search for it. An instance of form 4. Like usually you pass in like some sort of object as like
Oh, yeah, that's true.
as the second argument.
Yes.
Or the first argument, I mean.
Yes.
So that's what I was wondering. I'm wondering if maybe we need like to create like a user, a fake user with a factory or something and pass that. We'll find out, I guess.
You don't necessarily need to. You can just pass in a symbol and it's fine.
We don't have access to that.
Yeah, we don't have access to form 4.
I don't know where it would come from though.
It comes from action controller. That link that I mentioned might actually have some tests potentially. Form 4 is the form helper. Guess we could include form helpers. Testing. Render inline.
Render inline, that's a method that comes from ViewComponent. It's like a testing helper.
I see.
So Did that work? Maybe.
Don't know. It's a module. Maybe. Or may just include it in here. So.
Oh yeah, include it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, try that first. See what happens.
spelled it wrong. Helpers. Undefined method.
Oh yeah, it's an instance. So it's not a module method. So another way of doing it is that you could use the fake template.
Yeah.
And I think the fake template would have access to form 4.
Yeah, it's a
It's an action view base, so it should have access to form 4. Because
okay.
the form helper is included into action view base.
So just try. We can rename this later. Let's just try this.
Yeah, it's not really a template anymore, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah, I think this is
it's looking better.
do like
Yep. Yeah, form 4 is very flexible. It can accept a real record, like a user record, or you can accept like a symbol, in which case it's like a new user. It's looking promising.
oh, that's why. Because we haven't really refactored this to get to not require this yet.
Oh yeah. Hang on.
Oh,
Master your for can't be handled. Please require us to provide your own implementation.
I got something to do with.
So yeah, it's rendering the path for the form. So you just need to pass in a an argument for the form path. It can be just a dummy one.
Oh yeah. because
So what is the option called? URL. Otherwise, it will try and build a URL for the user
right.
and just doesn't have enough information.
That makes sense.
You need to pass in something.
Oh.
Just
Yeah.
like slash. It can be a relative path, so just slash form or something will do.
There we go. All right.
Oh, wow, it works. Cool.
I mean, that's just one. We'll have to do a little refactoring to have like some sort of way to do this for the rest of the classes or the rest of the specs, but
Yes, yes. But
yeah, that
yeah,
generally works.
yeah. I think that generally looks okay as well. Yeah.
Maybe we can touch base about, I know you mentioned like you weren't a huge fan of the base class technique.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we
Right,
can
right.
look in or think about what do you have do you have another way to or a suggestion of how you'd prefer to do it?
So in the base checkbox radio thing, so I'm not against all base classes. It's just that a kind of symptom for me is that the moment I see a base class and then both the descendant class immediately already initialize, then that tells me that we shouldn't be using the base class. We should be sharing kind of details instead and have mixins. So we can have like a render format options. It's basically we are rendering the CSS. I don't know what to exactly call it, but we can call it render common checkbox radio options or whatever. So have two separate components, but then it will include a mixin that will have the necessary methods.
Okay, I don't know what a mixin is in Ruby.
It's basically a module, module, and then you include it.
Okay, so we could have like a new module called like checkbox
radio.
Shared. I don't know.
Depends what it does.
Yeah,
I don't know what it does. Yeah.
Well, let's call it checkbox radio for now and name it later.
Yeah. So it's a.
That'd be module.
Module pajamas first.
Oh right, yeah. So you do like module.
And then within it, module checkbox.
Yep. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then, and then you could like include that in
each of the in the checkbox component and in the radio component, basically.
So like
all of that.
So like then these private methods, instead of using like a referencing an instance variable, would you pass that in as like form builder?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we just assume that the thing that's implemented has access to those things. But usually what we do is that we, instead of using instance variables, we actually define like reader methods, like form builder or label, for example. What is label? A reader. Can you help me here? Like, why is sometimes some things instance variables and some things are just readers? Oh, label is a slot.
Yeah, so that's defined by it's a
I
method
see.
defined by ViewComponent.
I see.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
from this. So like when you call this renders1 in ViewComponent, it dynamically creates new methods for you.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Right. So what I would suggest that you do is we create methods for all of those attributes as well. Because otherwise, if we use instance variables, otherwise in modules, Ruby gets confused. Well, this is a very shallow explanation, but Ruby gets confused. Like, are those instance variables the modules or the class that's it's being included to?
Got it. So how would you do that in the module? Would you
No,
do
no,
it?
in the not in the module, in the well, we're not doing in the base class, the checkbox component. You will need to define attr reader, form builder, and all the other attributes basically.
Okay.
So we'll have a little bit of duplication in the initialize method, but again, we can refactor that if we want to.
Okay. So where would the attribute reader, does that go in the initialize or does that go below it?
Below it, it's a class level thing. So attribute
Okay.
reader, and then it's a list of names. So symbol, sorry, a list of symbols.
Yeah.
So form builder is one, and then you use comma to separate it.
Yeah.
You can define multiple in one line. Yeah, all of that basically.
Okay. So what is this doing right now? What is this essentially? What is this doing right now?
So for each of those symbols, it creates a method
okay.
that reads the instance variable of
Okay.
the
And then
same.
you still would have to define the instance variables in the initialize class.
Yes,
Or in
that's
the
how you
initialize
populate
method. I mean, yeah.
Yep,
Got it.
that's how you populate them. Yep.
So let's move this here for now.
I think you have to put it below it, isn't it? Super. Oh no, that's fine. Oh no. Your checkbox options, your input options is.
Oh yeah, this should be just oh yeah. This is gonna take a little refactoring for sure. Just because it's like kind of pretty deep into the base class, or not that deep, but like
No.
that's how it's set up.
Yeah. So
But
you need to
I think I get the. I think I kind of understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. So then is there more in the base class that we need to take it out? No. Oh, and then the renders as well.
So yeah,
That's
we'll
not-
have to, so like
Slot.
essentially this would just change to, because this would now be a method, form builder would now be a method, right?
Yes.
Or sorry, I
In
should go
the-
back
in
to
the-
the actual,
Yeah.
oh wait, was I putting that in the wrong?
In the module.
Oh,
yeah, you already have it in the module.
yeah, so this would be like this would be a method now.
Yes.
So everything would be a method.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then the main thing that would be duplicated would be, the main duplication would be these, like defining the instant variables and then this,
Yes.
right? Yes.
That's right.
And there would be like no more super and this would
No,
end.
exactly. Yeah. So you don't have to look in two places just to understand how this is constructed. One more thing that we need to take out of the base class is the slots.
Yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, there's a decent amount of like shared logic that we'd have to figure out a different place to put.
No, we can put that. I think that one.
Oh, this could.
Yeah.
you
Can we
could-
assume that a checkbox and a radio naturally have a label and a help text? It's up to you.
Yeah.
I guess you can put that in the shared module if you want.
Yeah, like this would, yeah, they both have that. It's like that could go in the shared module,
Mm.
I think.
Yeah, except it doesn't work that way.
Oh, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. If you call it, then it doesn't have access to renders one. Oh, no,
Right.
you can keep it. So you can keep it in there. You just need to modify it slightly. You just need to wrap it around and a callback. So so you define a special method called def. You define a special method called self.included.
I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, you need the def, sorry. And then the argument is base, self.included bracket space. Not base. I don't know why we call it base, but it's the class. It's the class that's being included.
Which would be what? Class?
Yeah, we can call it class. Yeah, KLASS. Yep.
Oh.
So bracket class. Yep. So Ruby calls this method when it gets included, and then you can go class.renders one label, class.renders one help text.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I've seen this before.
Yep. Cool. And the very last thing you need to do is actually include it in your checkbox component.
Right. Which, is that the correct place to be included? Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, at the very top. Yep. This is the idiom that we have.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think that'll be too. I think I understand all that now. Like what would need to be done. So I don't think it'd be too hard to refactor it to that.
Yeah.
If you'd prefer that. I'm impartial. I don't have a preference, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely prefer this composition. And that's also what the view component community documents anyway. Just prefer composition over base classes.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that then.
Yeah, it just makes things easier to understand. And also makes things easier to maintain as well.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, are you good with moving, like if I do all this refactoring and get all the specs passing and stuff, are you good with this technique of passing self for the first iteration until there's like a more, and then we can always refactor later if like ViewComponents comes out with a more official way to do it.
So there is a comment up in line 4, I think. It says must be using GitLab UI form builder. It's not necessarily true anymore. It can be used in any form builder.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy with that. Like, so that means that we don't necessarily have to, we don't even need the GitLab UI form builder anymore, to be honest. Like, but we can take that in steps for now. We can just say any form for render this pajamas checkbox component and then passing the form.
True. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's just a little bit cleaner with the form builder, I guess, because it's like you can just call a dedicated method on,
Yes.
and then you don't have to pass the form builder in manually and stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, so to answer your original question, yes, that's fine. Passing in the self is perfectly fine. From the perspective of this component, though, it can exist independently of that form builder, and it will work with any form builder. Is what I'm trying to say.
True. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can change the note at the top to be a little bit more specific, saying like it requires an instance of. I mean, I guess it wouldn't work without it because we'll make this a required argument.
Yes. Oh yeah, you need to bring in the
bring in the
arguments
other
from the
arguments as
base
well.
class. Yeah, yeah. So it definitely, as long as it's used in a form for or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Okay, sounds good. I can do the refactoring in the next couple days, and then can give you a ping to take a look at it and go from there. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, yeah. This looks good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the help. I appreciate it, and learned some more Ruby stuff today, which is helpful.
Yeah, it's always fun. All right. You have a good rest of your day, Peter.
All right. Yeah, thanks. See you later.
All right, see you.